So the the Afro Caucus in DSA, that's like the Black Caucus.
Contrary to the name, I know it's called AfroSoc, but it's actually Afro Socialists and state comrades of color. So if you're Afro African Palestinian comrades are represented. Um, we have an Iranian comrade on RAC, Indonesian comrade on RAC. Very very diverse. So there's of course Latino comrades, um, mixed comrades, but um, white comrades are not allowed. The position is that comrades of color, black and indigenous people, color comrades in DSA need their own space to organize. So yes, it's not just the black folks obviously, but yes, it is. There are black people in our society. I mean, it's right there in the name.
So there's been like a lot of Black people that have been critical of DSA and leftists, and like the question I have is like, how do we get Black people to become more radicalized or radicalized enough to join groups like DSA?
You say radical, it's relative. Like historically, we have always been the most radical people in the country. I mean, like this is from which we rose, from the conditions under which we still suffer. Like we were not slaves, right? Like we literally, they stood our ancestors up on a fucking auction block. This is why America was good. They stood our ancestors up on an auction block, sold us like you would go down to fucking Lowe's and buy a refrigerator. So that's America's second sin. The first sin was the murder and of land, this entire country, from our indigenous comrades, with which we have always have, will always have until America falls. Very, very close revolutionary ties. There are brothers in arms. In many cases, there are brothers and sisters in blood. So that was America's original sin. Its second sin was bringing our ancestors here from Africa to be slaves, to be property. And mind you, it's a myth that our ancestors were just picking cotton. In many cases, it was cotton farming, forced labor. But you had tobacco, North South Carolina. You had rice, Gullah Geechee comrades, very heavy in rice. I believe Gullah is actually derived from Angola, because the English cannot pronounce it, they just call it Gullah. Um, if you read Settlers by Jason Kyle, like literally, the white people over here did not did not work. They produced next to nothing. We were the Coopers who made the barrels. We made the cotton gins. We drove boats. We were boat pilots. Um, we were wheel and carriage drivers. Like literally, every article of use for export in this country was made by our ancestors' hands. So we can radicalize this like experience. Chinese did not make revolution because they loved Marx so much. The Chinese made revolution because if you were a Chinese peasant that was under the thumb of a fascist landlord that did nothing but sit up and smoke opium all day, who would literally buy your brother so that you could eat flesh and sell him your daughter for sex slavery in exchange for liberty as bad or rice. Like that eats at you. You're gonna be like, you know, fuck this dude. I have nothing left to lose. I'm gonna go because like, okay, you took my fucking daughter away in exchange for some food that I grew in the first place, mind you. So our experience in this country has made us the one thing that they haven't fully integrated us as Americans. You look at the Italians, the Irish, um, the British, like every white ethnic group. Malcolm said this. Every white ethnic group that came over here was, in one or two generations, seen as being thoroughly American, right? Like they didn't have to pass civil rights laws for Polish people. Okay, Trump is going over to South Africa, bringing all these Boers over here, white South Africans here. They're considered Americans. We've been here 500 years. We've been here since before this country was a country, and we are still treated as first, second-class citizens, as non-human, as objects. I am not thoroughly, fully an Afro pessimist, but like, it's a compelling argument. It's a very compelling argument that squares with our existence as a people in this country. We are not seen as being fucking, we are seen as things. Even on the left in many cases, we are seen as things. We are seen as objects being placed on t-shirts to recruit people into these rotten ass organizations that the police kill us. We are seen as symbols. We are seen as angry brother and angry sister with a shotgun in one hand and a fist raised. But in terms of actually viewing us as actual human beings with our own ideas and opinions and desires, American still does not see us as doing that. The closest that we have come to being seen as fully human in this country was Reconstruction. And Madison behaves ended that in exchange for the White House in 1877. So we have always been expendable. We have always been seen as objects. We were literally bought and sold as objects. There's still slaves in the United States today. And the overwhelming majority of them in the prison system are black, are New Africans like me. So it's not a matter of making us radical enough to join DSA. In many cases, the average black American, I would say, I would wager, at least on questions of race, is far more advanced than the average DSA position. So when we ask why would black people avoid DSA, I would say that a main reason is because one, we already have our own organizations. Like we have to ask ourselves. I tell comrades this whenever this question is raised: what does DSA have special to offer black people? And that's what I'm going to start. Like that's what I'm going to start. Like working with the comrades at AfroSol. Like how can we make DSA an organization that Mike Brown, that Darren Seals, rest in power, that our working class, our lumpen proletarian comrades feel comfortable joining. We need to reach the same demographic that the Black Panther Party did. But our rules are on to maintain a Zionist police officer that's cracking folks upside the head. That's not like one of the main mistakes that you can make in politics is thinking that people are stupid. And I don't think it's intentional. I think that a lot of comrades in DSA simply they're not tied into, they do not understand the desires of the masses, and they do not understand how far ahead of them that they are. So what's needed is a sharp dose of reality. Because people are dying out here. We need to get these kids who had their wage and struggle in the streets of LA all last year. We need to get the people that are throwing down with ICE right now. We need to get the people that are actually out here doing this thing and taking the fight to this fascism. That's what we need. Otherwise, it's just going to be an insipid thing. It's going to be a weak thing, and we really cannot afford to keep leading the enemy with weakness, division, and confusion. Because that's, again, like I said, that's how you die.